The great hall of the Galactic Council was silent. Stars shone outside the giant windows, and the voices of 100 species echoed only in whispers. A mission had been placed before them, a mission so dangerous that even the bravest civilizations hesitated. The target was a dark region of space, a sector filled with shifting storms of radiation, dead planets, and the wreckage of ships that had tried to cross before. No vessel had ever returned from there. No signal had escaped. It was a place many called cursed. The council had spoken for days. Some called it madness. But in the end, every powerful empire, one after another, refused. They would not risk their fleets, their soldiers, or their resources. One by one, they turned their backs on the mission. At the center of the hall, the chair of the council asked one last time, "Is there any species, any at all, that will take this task?" For a long time, no one answered. The silence was heavy, pressing against every ear, every mind. The alien delegates shifted uncomfortably. They were sure this was the end of the discussion. No one would accept. But then a hand was raised. A human hand. The crowd stirred, surprised. It was Earth's representative, a man with calm eyes but a strong voice. "We will go," he said simply. The chamber erupted with noise. Some laughed, sharp and cruel. Others shouted warnings. Few whispered that humanity was reckless, still too young to understand the dangers of deep space. But the human did not sit down. He stood tall, letting their voices rise and fall. He waited until the noise died. "You all call it impossible," he said. "You all fear it. But we have lived with impossible since the beginning. We were born in storms, we survived plagues, we crossed oceans when the waves were higher than our ships. When no one else dared, we did. And we will do it again." A hush spread across the chamber. The aliens looked at one another, some in disbelief, others in irritation. A representative of a warlike species leaned forward, his scaled face twisted in a sneer. "You do not understand. That sector devours ships. It twists machines. It breaks minds. No army has survived, and you humans think you can." The human only nodded once. "We don't think. We know." That sentence lingered. It was not pride. It was not arrogance. It was certainty, and it carried weight. The council chair gave a slow nod. "Very well. The mission is yours. Do. You will not be helped. You will not be rescued. You fail, no one will come for you." The human bowed his head slightly. Understood. When the council was dismissed, many species left the chamber muttering to themselves. They thought humanity had just signed its death sentence. They thought Earth was foolish, desperate for recognition. But there were only a few who felt a strange unease. Something in the human's eyes, something in the way he had spoken, made them wonder if perhaps humanity knew something the others did not. Back on Earth, the mission was prepared. Ships were chosen, not the largest or most advanced in the galaxy, but ships with steel in their frames and crews with fire in their hearts. Volunteers signed up in numbers larger than expected. Pilots, engineers, soldiers, scientists. No one was forced. They came because they wanted to. They came because when the universe turned its back, humanity stepped forward. The day of departure came fast. The sky above Earth was lit with streaks of fire as engines roared to life. Families gathered to watch, some with tears, some with pride. The humans aboard knew the risks. They knew the stories. They knew that no one had ever come back. But still, they strapped themselves into their seats. Still they smiled. Still they whispered to one another that they would not fail. And far away, across the stars, alien eyes watched the broadcasts. Many shook their heads. "Fools," they said. "They will vanish like the rest." But some could not look away. Some felt the stirring of an old fear, or perhaps respect. The ships broke orbit, engines thundered. Humanity's fleet vanished into the dark. For hours, everything was. Smooth stars passed by, endless and calm. The crews spoke, laughed, shared stories. But then, slowly, the light began to change. Space ahead was not black, but a shifting red haze like a wound in the universe. Strange signals crackled across the coms half-word screams. Static. Metal groaned, though the ships were intact. It felt like they were being watched. One pilot whispered, "It's like the void is alive." The commander of the fleet, a human woman with steady eyes, stood on the bridge. She looked out at the storm waiting for them. Her voice carried across the coms, firm and fearless. "We've come this far." Others turned back. "We don't. Stay sharp. Stay together. Remember why we're here. Remember who we are." The haze swallowed the ships. The stars vanished behind it. Only the storm remained. And as the fleet pushed forward, alarms began to sound. Something was out there, something that had destroyed every ship before them. And now it was watching the humans. The storm swallowed everything. Outside the windows, the red haze twisted and rolled like a living sea. The ships shook as invisible waves struck their hulls. Metal vibrated. Lights flickered. Even the strongest soldiers felt the weight pressing against their minds, as if the storm itself wanted to crawl inside their thoughts. The coms filled with static. Voices broke apart into fragments. Command hearing, repeat, then silence. The fleet was together, but it felt like each ship was alone, drifting in endless fire. On the lead vessel, Commander Reyes stood tall. Her eyes scanned the flickering screen. "Status," she ordered. Her crew worked fast, checking every reading, every signal. The storm jammed sensors. Radars showed nothing but chaos. Yet everyone felt that something was near. Something moved in the haze. One young officer whispered, "We're not alone out here." The words chilled the room. They all felt it. Eyes in the dark. A presence too heavy to ignore. Then on the edge of the haze, shadows flickered. Shapes too large to be meteors, too fast to be debris. The crew leaned forward, straining their eyes. For a moment, it seemed like ships, broken and shattered, drifting with dead lights. But then the shadows moved, gliding with purpose, watching. Contacts. A pilot shouted. Multiple, closing fast. The alarms screamed. The crew scrambled. Weapons powered up. Shields flickered to life. But the storm ate energy. Every system felt weaker, slower, like something drained power from their machines. From the mist, the shapes grew clearer. They were not ships, not alive in any normal way. Their forms twisted, half metal, half light, half something unknown. They were the wrecks of old vessels, but they were moving as if strings pulled them from the shadows. Eyes of burning white. Opened across their broken hulls, the dead ships had become something else. Something that should not exist. "God," someone whispered. "They're ghosts." The human fleet did not retreat. They tightened formation. Reyes's voice cut through the fear. "Focus. They're not ghosts. They're targets. Weapons ready." The first wave hit. Twisted wrecks darted forward faster than expected. Energy beams tore across space. Human shields flared and screamed. Metal rang as impact struck the hull. The fleet fired back lasers, missiles, railguns. Explosions lit the storm, thunder inside the void. One human ship was struck hard. Fire tore across its side, but the crew inside didn't cry out. They fought to keep control, rerouting systems, sealing bulkheads. The voice of the captain came through, comes broken but strong, still in the fight. The council had been right. This place was death, but humans did not bow. They adapted, they endured, they pushed forward. In the chaos, Reyes gave a sharp command. "Don't waste shots. Watch their movements. They're not random. They're patterns. Learn them." The crew obeyed. They studied. They noticed. Where other species would have panicked, humans observed. Soon they saw Itharex moved in loops, repeating like hunters stuck in memory. They attacked the same way, again and again. "Now," Reyes shouted. "Break the cycle." The fleet split formation. Ships dove in directions the Rex did not expect. Lasers and missiles cut through weak points. One burning hulk shattered, breaking apart into silent sparks. Another followed. For the first time in countless cycles, something inside the storm was destroyed. The other wrecks hesitated. Just for a breath, but it was enough. Push them back, Reyes roared. Show them humanity is not prey. The fleet surged forward. Weapons fired in unison. One by one, the twisted shapes fell apart, their glowing eyes fading into nothing. The haze swallowed their remains, as if hiding the evidence of their death. When the last enemy vanished, silence returned. The storm still raged, but the shadows were gone for now. The humans sat in their chairs, breathing hard, sweat on their brows, but alive. On comes. A young pilot laughed, shaky but real. We beat them. No one else ever has. The laughter spread. Relief mixed with fire in their hearts. They had survived what no one else could. They had faced the storm's first test and endured. But Commander Reyes's face stayed hard. She looked at the haze ahead. Something told her this was only the beginning. The wrecks were not natural. They were guardians. Maybe prisoners. Maybe warnings. Whatever had twisted them would be waiting deeper inside. Her voice was calm but sharp. Don't celebrate yet. The storm hasn't shown its true face. Stay ready. Whatever made those things knows we're here now. The fleet pushed deeper into the red haze. Engines burned, lights flickered, but still they moved forward. Behind them, the shadows reformed, eyes reopened in the mist, silent watchers, silent hunters. And far away, beyond the storm, the Galactic Council received fragments of human transmissions. They heard the screams of battle. They heard the storm's roar. They heard one last human voice, crackling through the static. We're still here. The aliens listening froze. No one had ever lasted this long inside the cursed sector. No one had ever fought back. The council chamber was quiet, the silence heavy. Some whispered in disbelief. Some began to fear, because if humanity survived the impossible first step, what would they find in the heart of the storm? The storm thickened the deeper they went. Haze turned darker, twisting into shadows like claws across the stars. Every sensor screamed with false readings. Metal groaned as if the ships were being squeezed by invisible hands. Time itself felt strange minutes, stretched like hours like days. Some of the crew whispered that the storm was alive, watching, waiting. Commander Reyes stood on the bridge, eyes fixed forward. Her crew worked with sharp focus, but she could see fear in their faces. Every human could feel it. Something waited ahead. Something greater than the wrecks they had just destroyed. Status report, she ordered. Shields are weak but stable, her officer said. Engines holding at 70%. Weapons ready. Reyes nodded. Good. Stay sharp. This place hasn't given us its worst yet. Then, without warning, the storm shifted. The haze split open, revealing emptiness, a pocket of calm space. The sudden silence was almost louder than the storm itself. The humans gasped as their ships drifted inside, and there it was. Floating before them, enormous and ancient, was a structure. Not a planet, not a station, something in between. A black spire, taller than mountains, stretching in every direction. Strange symbols glowed faintly across its surface, pulsing like a heartbeat. Around it drifted thousands of dead. Ships some human-sized, others massive leviathans, frozen in silent orbit. Their lights were dead, but their bodies pointed toward the spire, as if drawn to it in their final moments. The crew whispered in awe and fear. What is that? It looks alive. It's older than anything we've seen. Reyes narrowed. Her eyes, record everything. We may be the first to see this. But even as they recorded, the spire reacted. Symbols glowed brighter. A deep hum filled the ships, vibrating in their bones. Coms came alive with strange signals, whispers, screams, half-words in alien tongues. Some sounded almost human, some sounded like the dead. Commander, one officer said, voice shaking, it's calling to us. Reyes clenched her jaw. It's testing us. Hold formation. Don't answer. But the humans were not the only ones who heard. The dead ships around the spire began to move, slowly, painfully. Their hulls twisted. Lights ignited in broken windows. Engines flared with unnatural fire. One by one, they turned toward the human fleet. "They're waking up," a soldier whispered. The fleet braced for battle. But before the wrecks attacked, the spire itself changed. A beam of light shot out, striking one of the human ships. The crew screamed as their systems went dark. Lights flickered. The ship spun helplessly toward the spire's gravity. "Rescue them!" Reyes shouted. Engines roared as another human vessel broke formation, grappling the disabled ship, dragging it back with sheer force. The storm fought them, pulling harder. But the humans did not let go. Sweat poured down faces, muscles strained, but they held together. Inch by inch, they pulled their brothers back into formation. When the ship was safe, the crew erupted in cheers. But Reyes only stared at the spire, her gut twisted. This wasn't just an artifact. It wasn't dead. It was alive. Or worse, aware. The spire's light dimmed. The dead ship stilled again, drifting back into silence. Almost as if the structure was watching. Waiting. For hours, the humans studied it from a distance. Scanners revealed impossible readings, materials not found. Anywhere else, energy older than stars? The scientists whispered that it could be a prison. Or a beacon. Something meant to keep outsiders away. Or maybe something meant to keep something inside. Finally, Reyes gave the order. "We're not here to turn back. We're here to finish the mission. Prepare an away team. We're going inside." The word sent shivers through the crew, but none refused. Dozens volunteered instantly. Humanity had not come this far to stop at the gates. Small shuttles launched, weaving through the graveyard of silent ships, heading toward the massive black spire. As they drew closer, the symbols across its surface shifted, almost like eyes following them. The air inside the shuttles grew colder, though the system said temperature was normal. One soldier gripped his weapon tight. "This feels wrong. Like we're walking into a trap." Another smiled grimly. "Maybe. But it's our trap now." The shuttles touched down on a vast platform at the spire's base. The surface was smooth, black as glass, and hummed beneath their boots. Doors opened, tall as towers, and without a sound they slid apart, welcoming the humans inside. Darkness waited within, darkness so complete it seemed to drink their lights. They stepped forward, weapons ready, hearts pounding. Every step echoed, like thunder in the silent halls. Symbols lit up along the walls as they moved, guiding them deeper. It was as if the spire wanted them to enter far away on their ships. The rest of the crew watched through helmet feeds. The council across the galaxy watched too, through stolen transmissions. Entire species leaned closer to their screens. Fear chilled them, because no one had ever gone inside the spire and lived, but the humans had gone in. And they were not turning back. The doors of the spire closed behind the away team with a deep rumble, sealing them inside. The sound echoed like a warning, but the humans kept moving. Their helmet lights cut through the thick darkness, beams, sweeping across walls that pulsed faintly with strange symbols. The air was cold, yet dry, and every breath felt heavy as if the structure itself was pressing down on their lungs. Commander Reyes's voice came through the comms. "Steady and calm, stay tight, record everything. We don't know what's waiting for us." The team advanced down a massive corridor, wide enough for a battleship to fit through. The floor shimmered faintly, reflecting their boots like black glass. With each step, the symbols on the walls lit up, one after another, guiding them deeper. "It's like it wants us to follow," a soldier muttered. "Or it's leading us to our death," another whispered back. But no one turned around. Humanity had faced storms, monsters, and the wrecks of dead ships. They would not bow to shadows. After minutes that felt like hours, they entered a vast chamber. The ceiling stretched so high, it vanished into darkness. In the center stood a towering device. An engine, a machine, or maybe something else entirely. It spun slowly, covered in glowing lines that pulsed like veins. Around it floated broken fragments of alien machines, tools, and bones. Some skeletons were small, fragile. Others were massive, inhuman giants with claws longer than human arms. The Humans froze at the sight. Countless species had been here before. None had made it out. One scientist stepped forward, kneeling beside a cracked helmet lying in the dust. She brushed her fingers across it and read the faded marks. Her voice was soft. "This isn't just a graveyard. It's a warning. They all came here. They all died here." Before anyone could reply, the machine in the center came alive. The glowing veins surged with light, brighter, faster, like a heart racing. The walls shook. The chamber filled with a low hum that vibrated in their bones. Then suddenly the hum turned into a voice. It was not one voice, but thousands. Male and female, young and old, alien and human, all mixed together, a chorus of the dead. "Leave," it whispered, echoing through the chamber. "Leave. ORB, unmade." The soldiers raised their weapons. The scientists froze in terror. But Rhea stepped forward, her voice firm. "We're not leaving. Tell us what this place is." And the chamber shook harder. The symbols across the walls flared white. The voices grew louder. "You were the first to speak." Others kneeled. Others begged. "You defy." Reyes's hand tightened on her rifle. "We don't kneel. We don't beg. We came to finish what others could not." For a moment, the voices went silent. Then the machine shifted. A beam of light burst out, striking the floor before the humans. It formed shapes, images of stars, galaxies, and finally, a great wound in space, the same storm they had entered. The voice whispered again, softer now. "This is no storm. This is a seal. A prison. Built to hold what should never awaken." The away team exchanged tense looks. A prison? For what? The light changed. A shape formed above the stars, shadow, vast and endless, with wings of fire and eyes like suns. Even as an image, its presence pressed on their minds until soldiers staggered, clutching their helmets. Some whispered prayers. One soldier cried out, "That thing, it's not alive. It's a nightmare." The voice answered, shaking the chamber. It was a nightmare. It was caged. But time weakens all chains. The others came to claim power. They became its fuel. They became its slaves. You must leave, or join them. The humans stood in silence, the weight of the truth sinking in. This spire was not just a monument. It was a lock. The storm was not random, it was a barrier. And the dead ships they had fought were sacrifices, puppets of something trapped within. Reyes lifted her chin. "If this thing is breaking free, running won't stop it. Someone has to face it. Someone has to hold the line." The voice hissed like fire. "Fools, your kind is small. Your bones will feed it." But Reyes only answered, with steel in her voice, "We are human. We don't feed monsters. We fight them." The light dimmed. The voices shrieked once, a sound so sharp it cracked the walls. Then, as suddenly as it began, the machine went still. The symbols on the walls faded. The chamber fell silent again. The humans stood breathing hard, their hearts racing. Something told them this was not the end, only the beginning. The spire had tested them, and they had not broken. But deep within, the prison stirred, as the away team prepared to move deeper. One soldier muttered in awe and fear. The council turned back because they knew. They were right to fear. But we were walking into hell itself. Reyes gave a grim smile. "Then let's make hell afraid of us." The humans pressed forward, deeper into the spire, where no one had ever returned. Behind them, the doors sealed shut again. Ahead, something ancient and hungry was waking, and for the first time in countless ages. It knew a new name: humanity. The away team moved deeper into the spire. Their footsteps echoed in the vast corridors, each step swallowed by the endless black walls. The air grew heavier the further they went. Helmets fogged, sensors flickered, and hearts pounded harder. Every instinct screamed at them to turn back. But humans didn't turn back. The corridors opened into another chamber, smaller than the first but colder. Strange statues lined the walls, figures twisted in pain, their mouths frozen in silent screams. Their faces weren't all alien. Some looked disturbingly human, though no human had ever come here before. The sight made even the bravest soldiers grip their weapons tighter. One soldier whispered, "These aren't statues. They're bodies." No one argued. Suddenly the floor shook. Deep sound rolled through the chamber like something massive. Shifting far below, dust rained from the ceiling. Then the symbols on the walls lit again, bright red this time, pulsing like blood. The statues trembled. Cracks split across their surfaces. "Positions!" Reyes shouted. The humans raised their weapons, forming a circle. The statues broke. One by one they split open, revealing shapes inside. Figures crawled out, their movements jerky, unnatural. Their eyes glowed white. Their bodies were twisted, part flesh, part stone, part machine. They were the dead dragged back to life by the spire. The chamber filled with the sound of their shrieks. Contact? A soldier screamed, opening fire. Gunfire thundered. Lasers cut through the dark. The twisted figures fell, but more rose, climbing from the walls, the floor, even the ceiling. They moved fast, too fast, swarming like predators. One leapt onto a soldier, clawing at his helmet. Blood splattered the visor. But another human shot the creature point blank, dragging his comrade back to his feet. "Don't break line," Reyes roared. "Cover each other." The humans fought shoulder to shoulder. Their training, their unity, their stubborn will turned chaos into order. Where one fell, another pulled them up. Where one was pinned, others fired to clear the path. The chamber shook with battle, with screams and explosions. Still, the enemy came. The spire itself seemed alive now. The walls pulsed, the floor shifted, trying to throw them off balance. The dead howled louder, their voices joining the storm outside. It was not just an attack, it was a test. The prison was measuring humanity, weighing them, trying to break them like it had broken so many before. But humanity didn't break. Reyes led from the front, rifle blazing, her voice steady. "We don't fall here. Not today. Hold the line." Minutes stretched into eternity. The floor was slick with black ash where the twisted figures fell. Smoke and fire filled the air. The soldiers were bleeding, exhausted, but still fighting. Then, slowly, the attacks weakened. The last of the creatures shrieked and dissolved into dust. Silence returned. The humans stood in the wreckage, panting, bruised, but alive. One soldier laughed bitterly, shaking his head. "If the council saw this, they'd think we were insane." Another replied they'd think we were already dead. Reyes lowered her weapon. Her armor was scorched, her face pale, but her eyes burned. "We're not dead. We're still here. That's what scares this place." But even as she spoke, the chamber changed again. The red light dimmed, replaced by a cold blue glow. The dust from the fallen enemies swirled into the air, drawn toward the center of the room. Slowly, the dust formed words, giant letters written in light across the walls. The message was simple. "You will fail, all before you have failed." The team stared, their faces grim, but Reyes only smiled, sharp and fearless. "Maybe, but we're not all before. We're different. We're human." The glowing words shattered like glass, scattering into the air. The chamber went dark again. Somewhere deep in the spire, a roar echoed, not a machine, not a storm. A roar that felt alive. The prison was awake now. It had felt their defiance. It knew they were not like the others. The humans pressed forward once more, stepping over the ash of the fallen. They carried their wounded, their gear, and their fire. Every breath was heavier, every step harder. But their eyes were locked on the path ahead. Behind them, across the galaxy, the council still watched. Alien leaders sat frozen, unable to believe what they saw. Species older and stronger had fallen. In that place, but humans, the young, reckless species they had dismissed, were still advancing. Some whispered in fear. Some whispered in awe, and one alien delegate, his voice low, said what many were too afraid to admit. If they survive this, nothing will ever stop them. The humans did not hear those words. They only heard their own hearts, beating steady. In the dark, the spire wanted them to fail. The prison wanted them to fall. But humanity was not leaving. Humanity had come to fight, and they would. The deeper the humans went, the stranger the spire became. Corridors bent in impossible angles. Doors opened into places that should not exist. Eyes where gravity shifted sideways, where reflections moved without their owners, where whispers filled the air, though no one spoke. The spire was no longer just stone and metal. It was alive, and it was trying to break them. One soldier clutched his helmet, groaning. "I'm hearing voices. They sound like my family, but they've been dead for years." Another gasped. "Pointing at the wall, I see my home. Earth. Right there. I can almost touch it." But when they reached out, the illusions vanished. The spire was inside their minds now, showing them what they loved, what they feared. It had crushed countless species this way. Did not need claws or fire-only despair. Commander Reyes kept them moving. Her voice was firm, cutting through the storm of lies. "Listen to me. None of it's real. Don't believe what you see. Hold the line. Trust your team. Trust yourselves." Her words were an anchor. The humans tightened their grips on their weapons. Shoulders squared. They were scared, yes, but they were not alone. Humanity never fought alone. At last, the corridors opened into a vast chamber, the heart of the spire. The walls curved like ribs around a colossal sphere suspended in the air. It pulsed with dark light, waves of energy rolling across its surface like a heartbeat. The storm outside was nothing compared to this. Every breath burned in their lungs, every thought felt heavier, as if gravity itself wanted to crush them. And then the voice came. It was no longer a chorus. It was one voice, deep, endless. It filled their ears, their helmets, their very bones. "You are late, little sparks. So many before you came, so many before you broke. You think you are different? You are the same. You will serve me." Humans stood frozen, not in fear, but in awe. They were looking at the prisoner, the thing locked inside the storm for ages. Its shape flickered in the sphere. Wings of fire, teeth like mountains, eyes that burned brighter than suns. Even as an image, its size dwarfed their ships. It was not a beast. It was not a god. It was something older, something meant never to exist. One soldier whispered, his voice shaking, that thing could eat whole worlds. The voice laughed, the sound like thunder cracking planets. "Worlds? I have devoured stars. I have broken empires. You are dust. You are breath. You are nothing." But Rhea stepped forward, raising her rifle, though she knew it would do nothing against the monster. Her voice was steady, strong. "You're so powerful, why are you still in a cage?" The voice roared in fury. The chamber shook, cracks spreading across the black walls. The sphere pulsed harder, dark waves rushing out like storms. The humans fell to their knees, helmets screaming with warnings. Blood trickled from noses and ears as their bodies fought against the pressure. But still they stood again. Bruised, battered, but unbroken. The prisoner hissed. Others begged. Others cried, "You rise again. Why?" Reyes's answer was simple. "Because we don't kneel, not to storms." "Not to you?" For a moment, silence, then laughter. A cruel, endless laughter that made the chamber tremble. "Good, good. I like your fire. Break your chains, and you would burn galaxies for me. Serve me, and I will give you eternity. Power beyond the council, beyond the stars. You could be kings. Gods." The humans looked at one another. They were exhausted, bleeding, trembling. And yet not one lowered their weapon, not one stepped forward. One soldier spat on the ground. "We don't serve tyrants." Another added, "We're not gods, we're human. And that's enough." The prisoner's laughter stopped. Sphere pulsed once, then again harder each time. Rage filled the chamber like fire. The walls split open. From the cracks, shadows poured out, forming claws, wings, eyes. The prison was breaking. The voice thundered, "Then you will die screaming." The chamber erupted. The shadows swarmed, rushing like an ocean of nightmares. The humans opened fire, their guns blazing, grenades exploding, light cutting into the dark. The sound of battle roared, shaking the spire itself. And far away, across the galaxy, the Council saw the impossible. The human transmissions had not cut out, their cameras still streamed, showing the fight inside the prison. The aliens watched, frozen, as the humans faced what no one else had even dared to see. Some shook their heads, whispering they're mad. Some whispered they're doomed. But one voice cut through the silence. An old alien elder, his eyes wide in fear and awe. No, you're human. And if they win, everything changes. Inside the spire, Reyes shouted above the chaos. Her voice was raw, fierce, unyielding. Hold the line. We don't die here. We make history here. And with those words, humanity charged into the heart of the storm. Facing the prisoner head-on, the battle for the galaxy's future had begun. The chamber shook like the end of the world. Shadows poured from the cracks in the walls, rushing toward the humans like an endless tide. Each shadow carried eyes that burned like white fire, claws that cut through steel, voices that screamed like 1,000 storms. The prisoner's rage filled every corner of the spire, but the humans did not break. Weapons roared, cutting through the dark. Explosions lit the chamber like lightning. Shadows dissolved into smoke under human fire, only to reform again, crawling forward with unnatural speed.
Oh.
The storm outside pulsed harder, echoing the prisoner's fury. Keep formation,
Outrace.
shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Cover each other. Every second we stand is a victory. The soldiers fought shoulder to shoulder, their backs pressed together. Bullets, lasers, and grenades tore into the shadows. They were bleeding, exhausted, but their fire never slowed. Every time one soldier staggered, another pulled them up. Every time one fell, 3 more filled the gap. The spire wanted to break them with fear. But humanity's strength was never just in weapons. It was in unity. The prisoner's voice boomed, shaking their bones. You fight like sparks in a storm. But sparks die. Fire dies. All things die before me, Reyes answered, with a roar of her own. Then you've never met us. At her command, the humans unleashed their heaviest weapons rail. Cannons strapped to their suits, explosive charges, set into the ground. The chamber blazed with light and thunder. The shadows screamed as entire waves of them burned away. For the first time, the prisoner recoiled, sphere pulsing wildly. The council across the galaxy watched in stunned silence. Their screens showed humans tiny, fragile compared to the nightmare standing their ground. No other species had ever lasted this long. The chamber filled with fire and courage, but the prisoner was not beaten. The sphere cracked, and from it burst a colossal form, a fragment of the prisoner itself. A towering shape of wings and claws, taller than mountains, glowing with fire. Its eyes locked onto the humans, each gaze like a hammer crushing their minds. Soldiers dropped to their knees, clutching their helmets, screaming as the weight pressed into their skulls. Bow, the prisoner demanded. Bow and live. Defy and be erased. Reyes fell to one knee, her vision blurred, blood dripping from her nose. But she forced herself up, shaking her rifle steady. Her voice was raw but unbroken. We don't beg, not to you, not to anyone. The humans answered her defiance with a roar of their own. Not to anyone. They charged the giant shadow swung its claws, smashing the ground. Entire squads were thrown across the chamber, armor shattering, bones breaking. But even broken, they rose again. They fired, they fought, they screamed their defiance into the dark. The scientists in the team worked desperately, scanning the sphere, searching for weaknesses. One shouted over the comms commander, "The cracks, it's vulnerable when it manifests. Hit the sphere directly." Reyes didn't hesitate. All units, focus fire on the core. Don't let it heal. The humans shifted formation, their weapons blazing at the pulsing sphere. Explosions rocked the chamber. The cracks widened. The prisoner howled, its massive form flickering. For the first time it felt pain. The shadows swarmed faster, trying to shield the core, but the humans refused to give ground. They used everything: mines, flamethrowers, blades when ammo ran dry. Some soldiers fought with bare fists when nothing else was left. They were only human, but they were relentless. The prisoner's voice thundered in fury. "You are nothing. Why do you fight?" A wounded soldier, barely standing, screamed back through bloodied teeth. "Because we're human. We don't quit." The council gasped as the transmission caught those words, echoing across the galaxy. Millions of alien eyes watched humanity's defiance. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others whispered with trembling voices, and some began to hope. Inside the spire, the sphere pulsed harder, the cracks spreading. The prisoner roared, summoning every shadow, every ounce of its power. The chamber shook, walls collapsing, lightning flashing across the storm. The humans stood in the middle of the apocalypse, fighting with everything they had. Reyes shouted one final command, her voice fierce and unyielding. "All units, push for Earth, for all of us, fire!" The humans unleashed everything left. Every gun, every missile, every explosive. The chamber filled with light so bright it blinded them. Sphere screamed, the prisoner's voice shaking the spire. Cracks split wide, fire spilling out like blood. And then silence. The humans stood panting, their weapons smoking, their armor scorched. The shadows were gone. Sphere flickered, broken but not destroyed. The prisoner's voice was faint now, weak but still alive. "This is not the end. You cannot hold me forever. You are only delaying eternity." Reyes stared at the fractured core, her chest rising and falling with exhaustion. Her voice was steady. "Maybe, but if eternity has to fight us every step of the way, then eternity's in trouble." Humans didn't cheer. We're too tired, too aware the battle wasn't finished. But they stood together, unbroken. And alive across the galaxy, the council sat in stunned silence. For the first time, they had seen the impossible humans standing against the prisoner itself. And for the first time, some wondered if maybe, just maybe, humanity could win. The chamber was silent, except for the humans' ragged breathing. Smoke drifted across the fractured sphere at the center of the spire. Cracks glowed like molten veins, but the prisoner was not gone. Its voice, though weakened, still echoed in. "Their bones, you delay. Nothing. I will heal. I will rise. You will die, and all your kind will follow." Commander Reyes wiped blood from her lips and stared at the broken core. She knew the truth. The prisoner could not be killed with guns or explosives. It was older than stars, older than war itself. But something kept it locked here. Something that had trapped it long before humanity was born. Hercums crackled with the voice of Dr. Chen, the lead scientist, speaking fast and urgent. "Commander, I think I understand. The spire isn't just a prison. It's a lock. It drains the prisoners. Power keeps it chained. But it's failing, too old, too damaged. That's why it leaks into the storm." Reyes's eyes narrowed. "Then how do we keep it chained?" Chen's voice trembled. "We can repair it, but not with alien tech. Their designs broke. They built to contain. Humans build to survive. If we merge our systems with the spire, we can turn it into a weapon. Not just a cage, but a blade." The soldiers looked at one another. To do that meant sacrifice. Linking their ships, their lives, their energy into the spire. Many of them would not return. Reyes looked over her battered team. All heard. This isn't just about us. If this thing breaks free, Earth dies. The Council dies. Everyone dies. So, what do we say?" For a moment, silence. Then one soldier chuckled, spitting blood. "We say, we've got this." Another raised his fist. "For Earth." Voices followed, rough but fierce. "For humanity. For all of us." Reyes smiled grimly. "Then let's finish it." The humans moved fast. Engineers tore open their gear, splicing human tech into alien conduits. Soldiers planted charges to direct power flows. Pilots above linked their ships, rerouting cores into the spire. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, but no one stopped. The prisoner felt it. His voice grew louder, shaking the walls. "What are you doing? You dare to chain me with your fragile bones, your rusted steel? You cannot hold eternity," Rhea shouted back, her voice echoing through the chamber. "Watch us." The spire came alive. Its symbols flared brighter than ever, glowing with human codes stitched into alien veins. Circuits rewrote themselves, fueled by human will. The fractured sphere thrashed, shadows pouring out in desperation. The humans fought them back, guns roaring until the last round burned hot. Then the spire struck. Beams of pure light speared from the walls, wrapping around the sphere like chains. The prisoner howled, its massive shadow thrashing, wings tearing at reality itself. The storm outside exploded, red lightning flashing across space. Ships rocked as gravity bent and screamed, but the spire held. Every human ship poured its energy into the lock. Every soldier on the ground poured their strength into holding the line. Alarms blared, suits cracked, lives flickered. Still, they stood. Still, they fought. The prisoner screamed in fury, "You cannot win. You will break." But its voice faltered. The cracks widened, chains digging deeper, pulling it back into the sphere. Its form flickered, shrinking, roaring as it was dragged down, and Reyes's final words cut through the chaos. "You're right. We're only human, and that's why we win. Because when everyone else runs, we stay." The sphere shattered in light. The roar of the prisoner was swallowed, fading into silence. The storm outside collapsed, the haze vanishing like smoke. For the first time in countless ages, the cursed sector was calm. Hours later, the surviving humans stood on their ships watching the stars return. The spire still stood, but now its glow was steady, its chains reforged. Humanity had turned a prison into a weapon. And the prisoner, though not destroyed, was bound tighter than ever by human hands. Across the galaxy, the Council watched in silence. Entire species had turned away. Entire empires had refused. But the humans had gone in, faced the nightmare, and returned. The council chambers were filled with whispers. Some spoke of fear, others spoke of awe. Slowly the truth spread. The youngest race in the stars had done what none before could. Humanity had held the line on Earth. Broadcasts replayed the final words again and again. Reyes's voice, hard and unyielding, became legend. "We're only human, and that's why we win." No. And in the silent dark of the galaxy, species that had once mocked humanity now trembled or began to hope, because everyone knew the truth. Humans could chain the impossible. Then there was nothing they could not do.